We are almost done. So you've done all the hard work, and now we are going to we're going to do the last two parts, the conclusion and the application. All right, these are not big. These are just a couple sentences that are really just summing up what you've done, what you've learned. Okay, so in the conclusion, you're basically making a sentence, two sentences that summarize what happened, and whether your hypothesis was correct or not. So when your hypothesis is correct, and from the beginning you thought something was going to happen in your experiment and you were correct, you would write, I accept my hypothesis. If you find out that your hypothesis was actually not correct, then you reject your hypothesis. All right. So if you were doing the project about fruit, you had said that the apple was going to mold the fastest, and you found out it was the banana that molded fastest. You would say, I reject my hypothesis, which stated that the apple would mold faster than the banana because I found that the banana actually molded faster than the apple. And then maybe you continue to say, I also found that the strawberry molded faster than the banana and the apple. All right. So you're just saying, I accept it, I reject it, what your original thought was, and why it's true or not. So maybe you said, maybe I said with my density project, I said that the oil was the least dense and the chocolate syrup was the most dense, and I found out that that was true. If that's true, I have not found out yet. I'm going to still do my experiment. I would say I accept my hypothesis, which stated that the oil was the least dense and the chocolate syrup was the most dense, because when I did my experiment, all three of my trials, I found that the oil was the top layer of my density tower, while the chocolate syrup was the bottom layer of my density tower. Okay, so very simple. Do you accept or reject what your original thought was and why? Okay. Then after you do that, you're going to write a very simple application. So your application sometimes can be difficult, but how does it apply to the real world? Another thing I like to do during the application is I like to say, if I was going to do this project again. Um, so is there, the slide itself says, is there any who would benefit from this information? Who would want to know what you've learned? What could they do with this? Is there anything that can be improved from what you found out? Should we do something differently based on what you learned? All right, so you can also add to that, if I was going to do this project again. So I like to start with that personally. So if I was going to write my application, again, this is just a couple of sentences, I would say, if I was going to do this project again, I would try what? I would try different vegetables, and which vegetables held up the best, or which vegetables molded the fastest. I would try doing trick shots in basketball and see if trick shots are still able to be done blindfolded. Or I would try to add some other liquids in my density tower and see how they interact with the liquids I already have. And I would do this because I want to learn more about density. Um, let's say I was doing bread and how bread is molding, or maybe where to store bread so that it stays fresh longest. Maybe I would also try some other food besides bread because I want to know how different foods hold up in different conditions. Okay, so in this application, you're writing a couple sentences. If I was going to do this again, I would blank and why. Okay, so your conclusion, I learned this, I accept my hypothesis or I reject my hypothesis because. And then application. If I was going to do this again, I would blank because blank. Okay, so go ahead and write those. If you get stuck, give me a call. These are the last two sections of your science journal. And then we're going to move into the just writing it up as a report and writing it up as a presentation, and you're done. You've done all the hard work. Good job.